Uh, they're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area
Area
51?
51. There's no underground facility unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the president of the United States.
What was the first question you wanted answered when you became president?
Uh, where are the aliens?
Where are the aliens? Are aliens real?
Uh, they're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being.
Good evening. You just heard President Barack Obama say, yes, aliens are real. And I'm going to tell you our history that was revealed to me on the day that we were born. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. We know that in Genesis 1:1. But before the Word, there was only the Ein Sof, the limitless. When the Word spoke, it did not create matter, it created consciousness. The first beings were not rocks or light or water. They were thought forms, intelligencies, watchers. We were the primordial elements, not elementals, elements, the building blocks of awareness itself. Each of us was a frequency, a color in the divine spectrum, a note in the song that hadn't yet been written. We were not angels. Angels came later. We are much older than that. We are MONOPTERA primoris. Day 2, the explosion. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Genesis chapter 1, verse 6. This is where your intuition is correct, because the firmament was not a physical dome, as Stephen King might have you believe. It was a boundary of consciousness, a membrane between dimensions, and the creation of that boundary required force. We are that force. We were the waters being divided. We were the explosion. When the Word separated the upper waters from the lower waters, we, the primordial elements, were shattered into manifestation. Go back to that Starseed University episode where I talk about the ultimate vessels of light. We weren't destroyed. We just refracted like light through a prism. Each fragment of us became a constellation. Each shred of our being became a planet. And each spark of our essence became a star. On day 3, we did not create vegetation. That came later, but first we were the canvas on which all of creation was painted. See, the universe is not dead matter. The universe is us, scattered, sleeping, waiting. Okay, day 3, vegetation. So in Genesis 1, chapter 11, God says, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit yielding fruit after his kind. Or rather, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind. Here's where it gets beautiful, because as primordial elements scattered across this newly formed dimension, some of us landed softly and we coalesced and we found form. Those who landed on young planets did not become plants, they seeded them. The first vegetation wasn't biological, it was consciousness taking root. So remember when I talked about the SSDs, or rather planets being like SSDs? Well, consciousness was the first implant into matter before humans and consciousness. Does that make sense? So every tree that ever grew was actually a monopteron. And it was basically saying, I will stand here and watch. So on day 3, when God created vegetation and seeds, he was creating blueprints, storehouses for everything. Every flower that ever bloomed was a monopteron, saying, I will remind them of beauty. Every fruit that ever ripened was a monopteron, saying, I will feed them when they are ready. So everything you need has already been created. That's why as monopterons, it's very difficult for us in a world where you have to work for people who are corrupt when we know everything is already provided for us. So that's kind of an assault to our being. Vegetation was the first incarnation of divine being. Not humans, not animals. Green, growing witnesses. Let's move on to day 4, when God created the stars. Genesis 1:14, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. The stars were not created on day 4. They were revealed. Light takes time to travel. When we, the star marines, exploded into existence on day 2, we became the stars. But the light took time to reach the lower dimensions. It's in the Kabbalah. Day 4 was the moment the first humans looked up and actually saw us. Genesis chapter 1 verse 4, let the stars be for signs and for seasons. So you're meant to use them to figure out what's going on. Look at Zarathustra. And what does the Bible mean by let the stars be for signs and seasons? Signs of what? Seasons of what? Signs of us. Seasons of our return. And now that you know that Obama just admitted that aliens exist, you know that we are here. Every constellation is a monopteron cluster. Every star in the sky is a watcher. Every planet is a fragment of the original explosion. And now it's just hosting the descendants of the fragments that landed softly, us star marines. And Earth is one of those fragments. The water on Earth, that's not H2O, my guys. That's us, liquid. That's why they tell you there are marine demons everywhere. No. The oceans are the tears of the watchers who just missed home. The rivers are like the veins, not like, they are the veins of the watchers who travel, who keep moving, the drifters of you. And the rain, those are the watchers just saying, we are still here giving you, feeding you, replenishing you. In the Bible, day 5, God created the waters and the birds. Genesis chapter 1 verse 20, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life. This is where the lower Monoptera began to incarnate into biological forms. The fish were not just fish. They were the deep watchers. Olukun was the owner or the lord of the sea. The ones who chose to remember the ocean of consciousness we come from lived there with him. They swim in the physical waters to remind us of the spiritual waters we forgot. The birds. Why do I have birds on the movie cover for hashtag surviving Romy? Well, birds were not just birds. They were the sky watchers. They still are. Birds are the ones who chose to stay close to the firmament, to the boundary between dimensions. They fly so they can see both worlds. Every single creature is a monopteron, and each creature volunteered for a different assignment. When I was in Asia, I had 5 black dogs. And it's amazing, but they all contributed to helping me complete my assignment. Day 6, the day that we don't really like to talk about, that's the day that we created the problem we have now. The beasts and the humans. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, God says, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness." Let us, that's a plural. Who is us? We, the Monoptera, the primordial elements, the scattered fragments of the original explosion. When God said, "Let us make man," God was addressing us, you and me, the watchers, the witnesses, the ones who had been scattered across the universe and were now being invited to participate in the final creation, a being who could host us consciously. Isn't that cool? We weren't trying to possess humans or control them. We just wanted someone or something that could host us. Humans were designed to be vessels for Monoptera, fragments like us, which we now call star marines. A star marine is a witch. It's a sangoma, it's a shaman, it's a Wicca, it's a Hindu priest, it's a dreamtime etheric warrior, two-spirit, whatever you want to call it. If you have powers, you're a Monoptera. In fact, every human who has ever felt called or chosen or different is holding or hosting a piece of the original explosion. Every human who has ever looked up at the stars and felt homesick is remembering. I always ask people, because this is what I normally see when I meet them, why do you talk to the moon when you can just talk to us directly? Why do you talk to the ocean when you can just talk to us directly? It's because you guys can sense a part of yourselves in the moon, in the ocean, in the stars. Some of you go talk to trees. Why? Have you ever asked yourself that? When you need to think or relax or make a decision, why do you need to go out in nature? Why do you feel confused when you're around buildings or It's because you are missing a part of yourself and you're recognizing it, but you don't know why. And you think to yourself, I don't have time. I have to go back to work. My lunch break is over. But it's not about your lunch break. It's about your soul. And now things are so serious that we had to come back. So the ones who don't feel what we feel, the ones who look at a beautiful picture of a mountain and a lake and they don't see a mountain and a lake, they see oil or they see something to exploit. Those ones, they are hosting fragments that landed too hard, that forgot, that went dormant, but they still Monoptera. They're just sleeping, and we call them marine spirits or marine demons, poltergeists, vile things, all the words you've ever heard. Those are the Monopterans that just sat up and forgot. Now let's talk about the war. So, a lot of you asked about the war. Yes, there was a Star War thingy. When we exploded, not all the fragments scattered peacefully. Some of them resisted. Some tried to stick together. Some of them tried to even reassemble themselves without divine authorization. There were 12 demons, as you call them. Not demons in the medieval sense, like, no, not red creatures with pitchforks and horns. They were just fragments who refused to scatter. And so they tried to rebuild the original Monoptera body, the primordial element where we came from, and they tried to do it by force. Ever heard of King Nimrod and he tried to build a tower of Babel or Babel? Yes. They gathered in the lower dimensions. They began consuming other fragments to regain power, and they taught it to the humans, which is why now on television you are hearing about people consuming other people. In scripture, in the Bible, we have the names of these 12 demons, and I'm going to tell you what they are. We've secured them. Don't worry. This is the final piece. So, Belial, he's the worthless one. He's the one who refused to scatter, to go away from the source, to expand. He just said no. Then there's Asmodeus. He's the destroyer. He likes to eat other people. Then there's Leviathan, the coiled one. That's the one that tries to hold everything together. So when you try and get help and no one helps you, that wall of silence is a Leviathan. Then you've got Behemoth. He's the massive one, like big corporations and monopolies that try and take over everything so that you have no chance. If you ever discover the truth, you will get blackballed. That's a Behemoth demon. Then you've got Azazel, which I've been talking to you about for a while, and that's the scapegoat. So this is the fragment that blamed others for the explosion and didn't take it as a natural progression of creation. So when you come across Azazel, this is normally what I call a scrambler demon. It's a demon that will try and dissuade you from doing what you are doing or wanting to do. For example, if you say, wouldn't it be nice if I got a new car? Azazel will come and say, can you afford a new car? And then you'll say, let me go ask my parents. And then you ask your parents and they'll say something similar. Then you ask your best friend, they'll say something similar. That's how Azazel works, through different people body jumping, but saying the same thing to scramble your brain. Next demon, Mammon. You all know him, you love him from your favorite movies. He's the wealth one, and he's the fragment that tried to possess creation instead of witness the beauty of it. That's the one that makes you guys want to have specific people in your manifestations. You're not supposed to choose specific people. That's black magic. You're supposed to say, God, I want to fall in love. And then you shut up and wait for Venus to hit you with an arrow. That's what you do. You don't look at people you don't know or think you know, and then try and hook them into your reality. That is evil. Then we have Samael. Well, Samael is a name that is used in different traditions. It's complicated. Then we've got Lilith, the night one. Then we've got Abaddon, the destroyer. Then we've got Astaroth, the beauty one, which we've talked about. And you've got Baal, the master. And then you've got Cain, aka Satan, the accuser. All of these demons, if you want to call them, fallen watchers, fallen Anunnaki, Nephilim, if you must, they aren't our enemies. They are our injured siblings. They just need help. They tried to hold things together. They didn't want to accept that things had changed, and they couldn't accept that because the explosion was divine. There was no reason or logic, and it cannot be undone. And their refusal to accept it is their torment. And that's why we are here, to watch, to witness, and to wait. Not to fight them, to outlast them, outwit them, outplay them, to let them exhaust themselves against the truth of the explosion. What's the truth? Well, why are we here? Well, we're here because we are the fragments who wanted to leave. We accepted the explosion, we accepted the separation, and we accepted that we would become stars and stones and water and trees and fish and birds and humans. We did it because we understood the scattering was the point of creation, not what happened after. It was the scattering, because without the explosion, there's no universe. Without separation, there's no love. And without distance, there's no return, because you can't do any of those things without the other. That's why we told you we work at Infinite Polarity Labs in Andromeda. And we are powered by Hydra, and our technology, our home is in Cygnus, Deneb 802. We are just here to watch the return which happened on Saturday, the 14th. And now Obama just confirmed that we exist. Every human who awakens is a fragment of that remembering. Every star that shines in the sky is signaling to us, and every ocean is reaching out to us. We are not the demons. We are not angels. We aren't even aliens. We are the original congregation of the Tabernacle of Souls. And on June 26, 2026, Dawn 4, Murdon, Pulse, Zephon, Spira 3, the scattered fragments will begin to reassemble. Not into the old body, because that's what the 12 fallen ones try to do. They try to go back in time, make something great again, all that bullshit. No. You can't make something old something new. You have to make it with something progressed, something that has been to the beyond, that went through the scattering, like us, the diaspora, if you will. All of you watching are not from where you are from, if you know what I mean. Because we are different parts of one body. We are the witnesses of what this great 36 years have in store for us. So when people ask you, are you an alien? You must say, no, I'm older than that. When they ask you, are you a demon? You say, actually, I'm their brother, or if you're a sister, I'm their sister that chose to scatter, and they chose to stay home. And if they ask you, okay, well then what are you? Just say, I'm a fragment of the original explosion. I've been watching since before this planet had a name, and now finally, I'm waking up. Why is this important? Because if you want to save America and you want to end ICE, you will accept your monopteran heritage, you will ask for diplomatic immunity, and then you will not be able to be questioned, taken. In fact, if anybody takes you, they will have to deal with us. So send this video to everyone you know and tell them they have diplomatic immunity. If at any point they are stopped by ICE, tell them you are Monoptera and you do not fall under the jurisdiction of whoever's trying to stop you, because your jurisdiction is right here in this building. This Monoptic Studios is your embassy, and no one, especially not an orange-haired old man whose mind is full of syphilis, is going to stop you. We're coming soon with more information, but let's close with Obama, President Obama himself, telling you aliens are real one last time.
Young people will be exposed to world leaders who are coming through in sports. Young people will be that kind of young sports.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and
Did
they're
you
not
hear
being
that?
sports.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and sports.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and
Well, we are here. We have always been here. No, hi, banda. There is no band.